We've all seen what just happened. Pakistan lost to Australia by 62 runs in the Cricket World Cup, which comes after Pakistan's earlier defeat to India. This upset has gotten a lot of commentators in the Pakistani media talking about the state of cricket in Pakistan. Even though the sport is our biggest national passion, it is riddled with problems like corruption. Match fixing remains an ever-present menace, for example. I have decided to tell my own personal story regarding cricket in Pakistan, which will help you realize the corruption that lurks at the grassroots club level here. It is a story I recounted back in September 2019 in an obituary I published in Pakistan Observer for the great Abdul Qadir Khan, a pioneer in leg spinning. He was one of Pakistan's greatest cricketers and one of the few figures in Pakistani cricket who had complete and thorough integrity. I took up practicing cricket myself when I was 13 and 14 years old, but my pursuit of this sport was marred by circumstances which are described in great detail in an interview my mother and I did with the judicial journalist Matiullah Jan for MJTV, which was posted on YouTube on September 30th, 2023. To make a long story short, from when I was 13 years old onwards, my mother and I were embroiled in a property dispute with an influential PTI MPA and cousin of former PM Imran Khan, as well as that MPA's family, and they used their enormous influence against us, trying to intimidate us and make our life much more difficult. And this extended to the cricket field. My mother took me to 2 cricket clubs in Islamabad in 2 different neighborhoods, and there I trained under 2 coaches. From early on, these coaches declared that I possessed exceptional talent and potential, and indeed I did. After some batting practice, every ball that I played, most balls that I played were sixers or 4 runs. My peers applauded me on the playing field. One time, when I was batting, a fellow student went up to the coach and complained, saying, "Sir, this boy will never be outed," which in that game meant that nobody else would have the chance to bat. And so that's how I was doing. But unfortunately, my adversaries stepped in to destroy all this, and my coaches went along with them. My coaches were bribed to sabotage their own job, interfering in my learning cricket by harassing me and not training me properly. And it was not only them. Once when I was batting, half a dozen men came onto the cricket field and formed a wall which obstructed the game, and which was very intimidating for me. But I still returned to the field, and this was happening while the coach stood on the sides and did not do anything. But I still returned to the field every day, and so shortly afterwards things took a turn for the absolutely criminal. My own fingers were injured in a vicious assault perpetrated by goons who invaded the cricket field and did this to me. And this was promptly reported to the police, who took me for medical legal exam, but the Islamabad Capital Territory Police never prosecuted the case. Now, I'm not here to name names, but just imagine, if you will, a child who is just 13 years old, who is learning a new sport which requires him to concentrate and mobilize every part of his body, and he is intimidated by men in their 30s and 40s who come onto the field and form a wall, arms spread out, and affecting not only that kid but all the other kids there, and the man who took them under his wing, he does nothing to protect them, and he just lets this happen. And then on top of that, the brutality that happened shortly afterwards. And so that's when I realized that my coaches were bribed. Things continued this way for a long time without letting up, preventing me from learning cricket properly. So before I was 18, my mother took me to Lahore to train at the Gaddafi Stadium. There my fortunes took a turn for the better when I had the immense privilege of meeting Abdul Qadir Khan, who took me under his wing. He was the only one who encouraged me and trained me with sincerity. Once I visited his house, which was located above a shop. There I saw how humble his abode was, how humble his living arrangements were, and I realized that this was one man who could not be bribed to drop a ball or concede a wicket. So there in Lahore I did well, but unfortunately I couldn't stay. My mother eventually had to go back to Islamabad to pursue the property dispute, and I didn't want to leave her alone. I returned with her to Islamabad to be at her side, and I said goodbye to Qadir Khan and the Gaddafi Stadium and all that I achieved there in Lahore. Since then, I haven't played cricket very much. I've taken up other pursuits instead, and if I've courted success in these pursuits, it's because nobody stood in the way of me doing my best. But that time I spent playing cricket taught me very important lessons. When people think about corruption in cricket in Pakistan, they think about the Pakistan Cricket Board and spot fixing. But I've learned that corruption also exists at the lower levels, at the club cricket level. It is at this level that talent in Pakistan is found and cultivated. Young people who are eager to enter a life of cricket, they go into these clubs, they find coaches available for them, and they train, and it is here that they work for a chance to make it big in the field of cricket. That's why it is very important that we root out corruption from this area, because what happens at lower levels influences how things turn out way above. The coaches I came across who try to sabotage my own pursuit of cricket, I realized that they are the kinds of men who could very easily patronize players who plan on dropping balls and conceding wickets because of the ill-gotten money they can gain out of it. And so we have to do something here. There are many things that we can do. One prescription I have is to have circuit cameras watching every cricket field, and there be a board of people who watch every cricket game so that they can identify any player who's showing exceptional talent and then mark that player for recruitment into higher levels of training. And this policy will also safeguard against malpractice, of course. But whatever we do, we got to do it well, because when we succeed at it, it is talent, not corruption, which will flow to the top. And Pakistan will be able to send its very best to play in international tournaments like the World Cup. My name is Raja Shazif Khan, and this is my story. Thank you for listening.